It's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, hitting you with another brand spanking review of Kamen Rider Geats, episode 36. I just got the Ninja Buckle recently from Taka, Kotetsu Toys. I'll try to link them in the description if I can remember. Yeah, awesome dude. Definitely check them out. Yeah, so, episode 36. Overall, a really awesome episode. I think it was a decent lead-off episode from last week and set up for what's to come kind of a situation. With my whistle. With my whistle. But yeah, it was a pretty good episode. So, we start off the episode in a pretty awesome place. So, Archimetal is there doing his Archimetal thing, right? And he takes a bunch of the ID cores away from Michinaga. And Michinaga escapes, and he's approached by, Archimetal is approached by Baraba and Kekra, who say they have a proposition for him, right? So basic idea is that they want to work with him to help take out Buffa, right? And promising him that if he gets all the ID cores, wins the game, he can use the wish to, bring back the Jamato and have a perfect world for them and blah, blah, blah. Clearly they're fucking with him. They just want to use him as bait, as cannon fodder, as it were, basically. And he goes along with it because he's completely, now that he's fully Jamato and has been taken over, you don't remember a few episodes back, he had this whole thing where he was like feeding like a bit of his blood to the one Jamato thing that he found, that ancient one, and then he ended up letting it eat him, and then his consciousness kind of took over the entire thing, and now he's fully Jamato himself. Which I feel like should have happened a little earlier, because I do enjoy Archimetal a little bit, and I do think it would have been cool if a lot, like maybe 10 episodes before it happened is when it did happen for him, so he could be a decent threat, to have the Jamato still be kind of a threat going on in the background. But it's not the worst thing. We also cut between this and Sarah and Neon talking about what happened with Daichi. About how Daichi had, betrayed them. They were talking to Ponchichi, which is just Keiwa, clearly. How Daichi had betrayed them and had, set him up for a trap, but that Buffa had found him and ended up, eliminating him from the game. And, of course, Ponchichi as Keiwa is like, it's so horrible, blah, 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 blah. It's such a goofy thing here. Like I said, I think it's interesting we're doing this, at least just it ends this episode. This whole thing where he, doesn't want her to know he's back in the game yet. But again, I do want some more push of a storyline for KY. I feel like even though he's technically considered the secondary officially by the show producers, showrunners, and everything, that Michinaga gets way more of the focus. So, anyway, her and Sarah and Neon keep talking, and Sarah eventually asks Neon, okay, so what is your perfect wish then? What is your wish if you win? She goes, well, and it cuts her off. And we flash over to Jean talking to Niram. Niram has a proposition for him if he can help him eliminate some of these threats, that they'll allow him to cross back through the fourth dimensional gate and, stay alive, basically. And he asks what he's talking about. And apparently there's this thing called the Grand End, at the end to the DGP, Zarrail, whatever. And if the show producers, showrunners, anybody from the future doesn't go through the portal, they'll be destroyed. If they don't go through the portal and it closes, they're gone. And so Gene, of course, doesn't want that, but he's conflicted because of, how he feels about, Ace being his, supporter and his friend and all of that, but does decide to somewhat help him. And so he's kind of talking to him about it, and also says that, Punk Jack is back, right? And Sumuri is really surprised by this. Whoa, that's beginning of episode 2 is showing her completely baffled by the fact that both of them are alive and that they have, preparations to take care of, whatever. And he tells Punk Jack, hey, can you go, I need you to, I actually do have a mission for you. It has to do with Ace. And he's like, all right. And if you remember, back before he got controlled by Glare and killed, him and Ace were kind of seeing eye to eye. And were actually kind of on the same side with things. Ace kind of convinced him and, showed him the light, sort of, that, the DGP had basically mistreated him, abused him, taken advantage of him, and that it wasn't what he really thought it was. And he still mostly is that way. Again, you can see that Yuya Takahashi, because he wrote X-Aid, is putting a few little slight brushstrokes of who is it? Laser into him a little bit, But again, I still like that Punk Jack is back. I don't think he'll get any kind of extra form or whatever, but I have no idea. There's a bunch they have to introduce. Keiwa's final form, Ace's final form, Michinaga's final form. Seeker's supposed to come back into it, and him and Neon are supposed to have like basically a swapped repaint of the fantasy buckle. I don't know. This is all from leaks. But so we go from that, and Michinaga after that battle with Archimetal is kind of like, you know, licking his wounds, and, you know, not really licking his wounds because but he is able to get damaged. That's the cool thing with the fight with Archimetal was like, you know, he threatens him as like, hey, you may have the power to defeat Kamen Riders, but that has nothing to do with Jamato. We can still cause you pain and misery and blah blah blah. And of course, Michinaga's like, oh shit, he's kind of right. And so he's in his little hideout place, whatever that Ace had found before, and he has these really crude drawings of the animals that represent the riders that are left. He's trying to figure out who's next, and he kind of is hesitating because he knows Neon, he knows Keiwa, and he sort of knows Keiwa's sister, or at least feels conflicted about going after somebody like that. And so Ace comes into it and is like, you know, hey, what's going on? He says, well, I got to go after this last rider. He's like, really, do you? And kind of is like going back and forth with him if he really, truly is about it with this whole wipe out the riders thing. Brings up the fact that it's really the DGP that has screwed this all up. And Michinaga brings up the fact that, well, the real reason I'm even eliminating these riders is not so much that I hate them, it's I want them out of the way so they can't be fools that will get a bad wish and screw it up for everybody else. So in a certain, like, long-winded way of saying it, he's basically saying that he isn't trying to be awful and evil necessarily. He's just trying to do what he thinks is right. Right? What he thinks is right. I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. Oh, go down. There we go. Yeah, so, and again, I do like this, him and Ace kind of going back and forth. There's a funny moment where Ace draws Punk Jack's helmet on there really, really well. And then there's two different subtitle ways I've looked at it. One is saying how realistic it is, and one was saying how good it is. And so, but that's what Buffalo says in his head, like, wow, he's really good at it, or wow, that's really realistic. And he's like, you think it's pretty good, right? He's like, no, I just thought it was too much. So again, I like this like little back and forth where they're not fully enemies right now, and it's more of like a Goku Vegeta type thing. I think it works really well. I think that it worked earlier for Buffalo to be angsty, to be sort of evil, to do these kind of reprehensible things. But I think now that he's done that and he has this power he sought, he kind of feels somewhat lonely and a little regretful over what he did, you know? Not so much that he's gonna be like, hi, Keiwa, I'm your best friend, let's all be happy, but like, not as much of an adversary as he was before. And so he tells him that Punk Jack's back in it and kind of some of the things that are going on. And also, before Jean, when he was talking to Niram, asked him, okay, I'll help you, but you got to tell me what's going on with this whole thing with Mitsume. I want to know what's happening there, because he wants to help Ace. So, we eventually get back to Sarah and Neon, where Neon has revealed to her everything about who she is, that she's not the real, you know, Kurama daughter, and that her wish is to get rid of Neon, you know, have everybody, a world that nobody knows who Neon is, right? And so Sarah's like, I don't understand, I gotta process this. And later on, they meet back up again after they get attacked by some of the Jamato, because they have Archimetal go after Keiwa's sister. Because they really think if they murder her or kill her or hurt her in some way, it'll push Keiwa to, you know, getting his final form or just being stronger, right? Keikara is kind of like losing it a little bit, and I don't know. I mean, like, I never thought he was, like, the completely most good person ever, but it just strikes me as odd how quickly he's just like, I will be evil if it means that, you know, I'll push Keiwa to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, like, we got a lot with Kyun, his backstory, his, you know, ideals, how he sees the world, blah, blah, blah. A lot with Jean. But I feel like Baraba and Keikara, they've a little bit dropped the ball in terms of their overall goals and what they're doing. At least with Baraba, it's just evil make evil send the evil, you know? But yeah, so that's their plan. And so Archimetal goes after Sarah, attacks her really badly, nearly kills her, until Keiwa comes back in there, reveals that he's back in the game. They run away, him, Sarah, and Neon, and she confronts him, and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you back in this? He goes, I wanted to keep you safe. I wanted to keep it a secret because I wanted to keep you safe, but now I do see that that's wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And Neon kind of, like, stops it really quick, which I was happy because it's just getting boring. She's like, no, stop. We get it. It's sibling squabbles. We're done. You guys are good. Let's move on. And again, I really like that she was just like, no, stop. But anyway, so move on from there, and Ace is going to go up against Archimetal and the Jamato, right? Until also comes in Buffa. That both of them transform together. We get a pretty badass fight with the two of them. The both of them working together to fight against Archimetal and his Jamato he's brought back, or at least grown a little bit. And it's a good fight. Boost first. Boost Mark II form first, then into Laser Boost. For Buffa, it's of course zombie fever. But then eventually it's zombie monster fever, and that looks really cool too because Monster also has some of the similar color aesthetics that Zombie does. So it works really well with the suit, and I think it looks pretty cool. And I'm also just aching for him to get his final form, however that comes together. But they fight together pretty well, wiping out the Jamato. And there's a really cool moment where where Ace does a kick where he kicks Michinaga and flips off of him to kick Archimetal and send him flying. And instantly Michinaga's like, "What the hell was that for? What are you doing?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "That kick. What was that for?" He goes, "Oh, well, you're invincible anyway. What does it matter?" And he takes it, the laser raise riser, and shoots him in the chest. Like, doesn't do anything. I like this, playing with the rules type thing. It's really cool. And they have a nice back and forth. So I'm happy that Michinaga is mostly on the good side. We'll talk about the episode preview in a little bit here. So they work together. They're able to defeat Archimetal. And he has this really goofy, dramatic death scene and this white background. All the Jamato are like, "Ja, ja, ja!" And he's like, "My sons, you will have the brightest of futures." And it's so stupid. But anyway, so he's gone. He's done. And he leaves behind clearly some of the ID cores he had. And one of them being Madge Sparrow, Daichi's. And Baraba picks up I have I can't resist a good toy. And it's like, thank you, Toei. Yes, I'll buy the toys. I don't need you to tell me to buy the toys. But anyway, so then they're approached by Jean, who says he has a proposition for them. And that's all we get. We don't get a lot of details with it. He's not there to fight, just a proposition for them. And that's how we end out the episode. So overall, it was really good. Like I said, we do have a bit of a little interaction between Punkjack and Geats that happens earlier in the episode, basically telling him that he's back and that he's not fully trusting the DGP. He's just trying to figure some things out. In the next episode preview for next week, we do see him and Sumari in some kind of a library or some kind of a, information source of some kind, trying to figure things out about what happened with Mitsume and things like that. Next week is also showing, for some reason, Buffa is still fighting the other riders, which I think will just be for a little bit until we move forward with the narrative. But then we also see Ace in Boost Mark III, which is the eventual half to Boost Mark 9, or not Boost Mark, sorry, Geats 9, which is his full final form, which looks amazing. If you know where the leaks are, you know where the leaks are, and you've seen it, and it looks beautiful. I've already pre-ordered the buckle. It just had to happen. So yeah, we're already getting the debut of part of the final form. It kind of feels like to me, because it is Yu Takahashi, kind of like how there was Maximum Mighty X, or whatever Maximum Mighty X, that was the big mecha form thing in X8, and then eventually Hyper Muteki, which sprung out of that transformation-wise, So that's how it kind of feels this way, is it's that part, and then once he does revolve on or turns it or something, it becomes the next part. So overall, it's a really, really good episode. I think this one was really entertaining. I like that Sarah is still adding a lot to the show. She doesn't seem like she's cannon fodder necessarily. Now, she still does sort of have a death flag over her, in my opinion. I don't know for sure if that's going to be what pushes Keiwa, or if there'll be something more altruistic and good that will push him to get his final form. I don't want her to die, but I could see it happening, and if it's right with the translation stuff about the final form basically making Ace into a desire god, then maybe he's able to reform the world the way he wants it, which is to make everyone happy and bring people back and blah, 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 blah. So who knows? It also shows him holding a piece of stone, so I'm thinking something happens to Mitsume. Somehow she's, dies from creating the final form or something, and then Sumari's probably made fully into a desire goddess not long after that. But yeah, it's really ramping up, and we're only on, this is episode 36, so episode 37, it's 50 episodes usually, so we're pretty close to the end, but not super, super close, so we still got quite a lot of ground to cover. Like I said, we have Ace's final form, thing debut, and then, which probably, Mark III will probably only be one episode, let's be real. We have Tycoon Shogun, we have Mao Buffa, or whatever, Devil Buffa, whatever that's supposed to be. And then Seeker's supposed to come back into it. Along with it, the fantasy buckle that him and Neon are kind of supposed to share. She gets a recolored, or he gets a recolored version of the fantasy buckle for her final form. I don't know. And what that would mean to me is if she keeps using that, then I guess she probably would give beat to Punkjack if he's going to be in it fully doing things. So, again, we have a lot of ground to cover with forms and stuff like that. But like I said, I think I've really enjoyed this season so far. And there's a reason that it's made it right now into my top 3. It's got some really solid writing, some really solid characters, and Ace is by far one of the strongest written and most well created, well developed, and badass main writers we've had in a long time. And that's saying something, because there's been some pretty awesome main writers. But I think of the Reiwa era, he's probably my favorite. I'm just going to say it right now. He probably is my favorite. But this is a pretty good season. I really enjoyed it so far. Score-wise, I'll probably give this one somewhere around 9 out of 10, only because I'm wanting to see where things go forward, and I kind of wish we got more of why Keiko was just like, I'm an evil dickhead now, for no reason, allegedly. And a bit more about Baraba too. Again, they're the ones we've gotten the least about, the supporters, support writers that we've gotten the least backstory about. So I just want to know more about them and why they do what they do and all that. But very excited. I did, like I said, pre-order the Geats 9 buckle, which is available on Total Collectibles if you guys want to check that out. Also, the ID core set that involves Ben and John's ID core is finally released as for pre-order. That'll be in September. Geats 9 is in June, and pre-order that as well. But yeah, so overall, really good episode. Let me know in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? We're in the middle. Thank you guys so much for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, all that good stuff. But as always, stay hooked on heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.